Hello, I'm Kenny from Malabot, and recently, well, a few months ago, Gerald Undone went around and asked people what they were using to shoot all of their online content. And while I definitely received an email because he and I are very good friends, I just didn't have time to talk about it. So now I'm here talking about it for the Frame and Reference podcast. You subscribe on your favorite podcast app or watch them here on YouTube. I've been using the Canon C500 Mark II, which is my daily production camera when I'm shooting, commercials, documentary, music videos, whatever. And it tends to have the 40 millimeter pancake on it. Here I've got for audio the Neumann KM185 just on a boom pole, resting against a Apple box, because this is my film camera. This is the camera I work with. So it's not just set here. I take it off and leave it. I really would love a second tripod just to leave this tripod here, but unfortunately that isn't always the case. The sun's going down, so this lighting is going to look much more obvious than I like, but maybe that's good. Over here, I've got an SL60W. Yes. They make an SL60Y. I don't know if you know that, a tungsten version. I don't know why they didn't call it D and T. They called it white and yellow, but whatever. And that is clamped to the bathroom sink in this office. And then there is a piece of 251 diffusion hanging over the door, and that is diffusing this light. And then I have a tiny fill light via this whatever Amazon Basics kind of LED bar, which just I can show you what this does. And that's what it looks like without the fill. See, too intense, right? Too intense for talking about a camera or something. So as I said, I use this setup to shoot my podcast, the Frame and Reference, where I interview cinematographers. And, I got to come correct at people like Tim Ives or, Joshua Richards or Ellen Curris, all these amazing cinematographers. I want them to know that they're in good hands. So they log in, and most of the time they're like, wow, that looks great. And so they don't think I'm a fucking scrub. So I just have the C500 going through this HDMI USB adapter, which works fantastic. I love this thing. I've told everyone to don't get the who makes it? Not Atomos. Atomos makes one now, or makes one. But the Atomos just rebranded this thing, I swear to God, and they're charging way more for it. This thing costs $20. Elgato makes a big one. You don't need it. Get this $20 one. And that goes into the laptop that's sitting here that runs Zoom, and then the audio and everything gets passed through the USB adapter. So the key is, if you want your shit to look good, is not necessarily having this ridiculous camera. Obviously, everyone on the Gerald Undone video had various DSLRs and stuff like that. Well, except for Marquez. Marquez had a Red Monstro, which beats me. What I do is I meter the light back there with a light meter, with a spot meter, and then I adjust the you can also use false color. That's another easy way I've done this. And then I adjust this light with my remote so that it matches the background, and then everything is even and it looks natural and nice. I don't like knowing where the light comes from, and which is why I don't necessarily like this setup. But again, for explanation purposes, this works fine. And then also, I would use something other than an SL60W. I would get a bicolor, something with adjustable color temperature, because it's really nice to be able to meter the incoming sunlight and then set your key to that exact color temperature. It looks a lot nicer and a lot more realistic. Now, you may be saying, well, the light's coming from your window. Shouldn't the key be hitting this side? You should wrap instead of doing the old sun sandwich, as the Wandering DB calls it. And the answer is no. I tried that for a bit and it looked unnatural. Why? Because we can see, I've discovered, this is the reasoning, the light coming in here reflects. We know that the light is coming, and so what this is selling is the idea that the sun's coming through there and then hitting the wall here and then bouncing into my face. And when the sun is out, that looks natural. This looks lit. Yeah, and then this actually, which we're not quite seeing anymore, but this does give me a bit of scratch on this side, which is perfect, separates. And I'm not really a backlight guy. So if you're planning on doing two camera pieces like this. Just keep that in mind. Have your background be the same value as yourself. Adjust as your taste dictates, but that's generally kind of a good idea. And then have your fill be cooler than your key, or the same, but generally shadows are cooler than highlights. In reality, shadows are cooler than the sun when you look at them. And you don't need a ridiculous camera. I have an AF100. Get an AF100 and you can do the same thing. If you use a DSLR, you notice all these Gerald Undone friends tend to have some mix pre or something that they're putting the XLR into. Get a AF100 or something and just run it straight into the camera. This is just running straight into the camera. You don't need, get a C100 would work. Those are relatively inexpensive. Like a C100 is probably cheaper than an S1H, and you don't need to buy a mix pre. Oh my God. Food for thought. You don't need to buy a separate audio. Also, everyone using the MKH416 indoors, have fun. So in closing, that's what Gerald totally, absolutely asked me to do as a friend, as a buddy, in an email that I absolutely received. And so just fulfilling my obligation. Thanks, Gerald. Oh, Canada. Go Leafs. I'm a Sharks fan, actually. All right. Let's get out of here.